The war room of the Kavalesh hegemony fell silent as Scout Commander Reith entered. His scales, normally a proud crimson, had faded to a sickly orange. Dark circles ringed his 3 eyes. He walked with the careful steps of someone who had seen something that broke him. War Marshal Kraveth sat at the head of the obsidian table, his massive frame radiating confidence. Around him, the other commanders watched with mild interest. Scout reports were usually boring affairs, numbers, coordinates, recommendations. This one would be no different. Reith activated the holographic display with trembling claws. Honored commanders, I have returned from the border regions near Sol system. I must strongly recommend we alter our expansion route. The humans, they are not what we assumed. Kraveth snorted, a sound like grinding rocks. Not what we assumed? They are primitives. 200 years in space. We have conquered species with 5,000 years of stellar civilization. Marshal, please, look at the data. Reith's voice cracked with desperation. He pulled up sensor readings from his fleet's distant observations. Their ships accelerate at impossible rates, 15, sometimes 20 times their planet's gravity. Our biologists say such forces should turn their internal organs to paste. Commander Thalas, a veteran of 12 campaigns, leaned forward. Her mandibles clicked in amusement. Sensor errors, or perhaps atmospheric interference from that yellow star of theirs. It is not sensor error. Reith slammed his claw on the table. The room went quiet. Scout commanders did not raise their voices to superiors. I checked everything 3 times. I had our technicians examine every instrument. The readings are accurate. Human ships move like nothing else in known space. Kraveth's eyes narrowed dangerously. Control yourself, Scout Commander. You embarrass your rank. Reith took a shaking breath. Forgive me, Marshal, but you must understand. I watched a human patrol vessel destroy 3 pirate ships in 4 minutes. The pirates were Krell raiders, the same ones who have evaded our hunters for years. The human ship did not even slow down. It simply erased them. He changed the display to show weapon analysis. Their kinetic weapons fire projectiles at percentages of light speed. Their energy weapons operate at frequencies that burn through our standard shielding like it does not exist. And their doctrine... He paused, searching for words. They fight like they are already dead. No retreat protocols, no surrender options. They engage until their ships are destroyed or the enemy is. Subcommander Vex spoke up from the far end of the table. He was young, ambitious, hungry for glory. So they are aggressive. Good. Aggressive species make mistakes. They overextend. They leave flanks exposed. This makes them easier to defeat, not harder. Reith's voice went flat. You do not understand. They are not reckless. Every action is calculated. They accept casualties that would make us withdraw, because they have calculated that pressing the attack achieves their objective. Their aggression is a weapon, not a flaw. Kraveth stood, his 2.5 meters of height making him tower over the table. Enough. I have heard enough. Scout Commander Reith, you have spent too long in the dark between stars. You have allowed fear to poison your judgment. Marshal, I beg you. You are dismissed. Take medical leave. Recover your courage. When you return, we will speak no more of this. Reith looked around the table, desperate. None of the other commanders met his eyes. They thought him a coward, a scout who had lost his nerve. He pulled up one final image. A human warship, designated a destroyer class. It was not the largest ship in their fleet, yet it bristled with weapons. They call this a destroyer. It is only mid-sized in their fleet. I have intelligence that they possess ships called dreadnoughts, carriers, battleships. If this is merely a destroyer, what terrors do their capital ships hold? Thalas laughed, a chittering sound. Theatrics. Primitive species love to give their vessels intimidating names. It means nothing. My own ship is called Dex Promise. Does that make it more dangerous? Your ship is named that as tradition, Reith said quietly. Humans name their ship classes based on function. A destroyer destroys, and I have seen what they destroy. Kravitz's patience ended. Scout Commander Reith, you are relieved of duty, pending psychological evaluation. Leave this chamber immediately. Reith straightened slowly. He looked at each commander in turn, memorizing their faces. I have served the hegemony for 40 years. I have mapped hostile territories, infiltrated enemy stations, and survived encounters that killed better scouts than me. I tell you this not as a coward, but as someone who knows death when he sees it. If we enter human space with hostile intent, we will not return. Enough! Kravitz's roar shook the room. Remove him. 2 guards entered, gripping Reith by his arms. As they dragged him toward the door, he shouted back. They have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. They have been speaking softly, and you think them weak. You have not seen the stick. The door sealed behind him. The war room remained quiet for a moment. Vex broke the silence with a nervous laugh. Well, that was dramatic. Kravitz settled back into his chair, composure returning. The scout has clearly suffered a breakdown. It happens, especially on long-range missions. The isolation affects some minds. Thalas nodded. Still, we should examine his data, just to be thorough. Of course, Kravitz agreed. But do not expect to find anything alarming. Humans are newcomers. They have fought no major wars, conquered no territories, demonstrated no exceptional capabilities. They simply exist in their small cluster of systems, playing at being a spacefaring civilization. He activated the strategic map, showing the planned expansion route. It cut through several systems humans had claimed, but barely occupied. These systems contain resources we need. The humans have no legitimate claim to them by council law. They have not established sufficient infrastructure to qualify for territorial rights. We will move in, they will protest, and eventually they will accept our superior claim. It is the way of things. Sub-Commander Vex studied the map eagerly. And if they resist? Kravitz smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then we will teach them the price of defying the hegemony. 120 ships, the largest fleet we have deployed in a decade. The humans will see our force and understand reality. They are not in a position to dictate terms to anyone. The vote was called. All commanders except Reith's empty chair voted yes. The Kavalish hegemony would expand through human-claimed space. The fleet would assemble within 2 weeks. In his quarters, Reith watched the vote results appear on his personal console. He closed his eyes and keyed in a formal request. Emergency leave, effective immediately. Full departure from active service during the upcoming campaign. He would not participate in the slaughter. He had tried to warn them. They had called him coward, broken, compromised. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps he had lost his nerve. But deep in his core, where instinct lived beneath thought, Reith knew one thing with absolute certainty. He would not be among those who attacked humanity, because those who did would not survive to tell what they had learned. The numbers did not lie, no matter how much the commanders wanted to disbelieve them. Humans were predators, and the hegemony had just marked itself as prey. The Proxima Centauri system hung peaceful in the black. 3 planets orbited an ancient red dwarf star. The third planet, Proxima Centauri C, held nearly 4 million human colonists. They had turned the cold world into a thriving settlement through decades of hard work. Today, their peace ended. Battle Group Prime emerged from faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. 120 Kavalish warships, their hulls reflecting starlight like scales on a vast serpent. At the center, War Marshal Kravitz stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Providence. Victory would be swift. It always was. Communications. Broadcast standard subjugation terms, Kravith ordered. Channel open to all human facilities in the system. The transmission went out. The terms were simple. Proxima Centauri was now hegemony territory. The colonists would evacuate within 30 days. Any resistance would be met with lethal force. It was reality. On the colonial command station orbiting Proxima C, Governor Martinez read the message with steady hands. He was old enough to remember Earth's last major war. He knew what came next. Get me the nearest Terran fleet element. Priority Alpha. Sir, the nearest military ship is the TRNS Consequence, a heavy cruiser. She is 4 hours away at maximum burn. 4 hours is too long. Tell Captain Chen to respond immediately. 20 light seconds away, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Consequence. She was 40 years old, with gray starting to streak her black hair. Her service record listed 15 years in the Terran Navy, 3 ship commands, and participation in the suppression of the Mars Rebellion. She read the Kavalish message once, then looked at her tactical officer. How many ships, Lieutenant Park? Sensors read 120 contacts, Captain. Cruiser to battleship class. Standard Kavalish configuration. Chen's jaw tightened. 1 ship against 120. But 4 million civilians depended on what happened next. Communications. Open channel to the Kavalish flagship. Audio only. When the channel connected, Chen spoke clearly. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Navy ship Consequence. You have entered human territorial space without authorization. You have threatened human civilians. You will withdraw immediately. Kravith laughed when the translation came through. His officers joined in. 1 ship, making demands. Human Captain, you are in no position to give orders. We offer you the chance to withdraw. Save your ship and your crew. This system is ours now. You have 30 minutes to begin withdrawal, Chen continued, ignoring his words. If you do not, we will consider your presence a hostile act. Consequence out. The channel closed. Kravith stared at the communication console in disbelief. Then he laughed again. Harder this time. Did that primitive just threaten us? 1 ship against our entire battle group? Commander Thalis checked her tactical display. The human vessel is approaching, Marshal. Accelerating at, by the ancestors, 14 gravities. How are they not dead? Inertial dampening, probably, Vex suggested. Though that level of compensation should be impossible with their technology. Kravith waved dismissively. It does not matter. We will not even respond to their deadline. They are insignificant. Move the fleet into blockade formation around the colony world. When they see our strength properly deployed, they will understand. The 30 minutes passed. The Consequence continued its approach, now burning at 15 gravities. It made no attempt to slow down. Chen stood at the center of her bridge, calm as stone. Tactical. Confirm weapons free. Navigation. Attack pattern Sierra 4. Engineering. Confirm reactor output at 100%. Her first officer, Commander James Wright, stepped closer. Captain, we are outnumbered 120 to 1. Fleet Command says reinforcements are 6 hours out. Then we hold for 6 hours, Chen said simply. Weapons, target their outer picket line. Fire when in range. The Consequence entered weapons range, traveling at a velocity that should have been impossible. Its railguns spoke first. Magnetic accelerators hurling tungsten projectiles at 40,000 kilometers per second. The rounds hit a Kavalish destroyer before its shields could fully deploy. The destroyer's hull crumpled like paper. Contact destroyed, Lieutenant Park reported. 11 more vessels are breaking formation to engage us. Point defense active. Counter missiles away. Helm, execute evasive pattern. The Kavala's ships opened fire. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds filled space. The Consequence twisted through the storm like a dancer, its AI-assisted navigation pushing the ship through maneuvers that pulled 5, 6, 7 gravities. Inside, the crew endured forces that would hospitalize most alien species. The human ship's point defense network activated. Laser clusters and small railguns tracked incoming missiles with inhuman precision. 98% of the missiles died before reaching their target. The remaining 2% struck shields that flared and held. Shield generators at 70%, engineering reported. Hull temperature rising from energy bleed-through. Maintain course. Target the cruiser braking left. The Consequence's main guns fired again. Nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers, each pulse powerful enough to vaporize a city block. The Kavalish cruiser's shields collapsed under sustained fire. Then its hull began to glow. Then it came apart in an expanding cloud of vapor. On the Iron Providence, Kraveth watched in growing horror as his tactical display updated. 8 minutes into the engagement, and 12 of his ships were gone. 12 against 1 enemy vessel. All ships, focus fire on that human cruiser. Kill it now. 60 ships redirected their weapons. The volume of fire increased tenfold. The Consequence's shields failed. Energy bolts scored its armor. Hull breaches appeared on Deck 7 and 12. Casualties in Engineering Section 2, Damage Control reported. Fires on Deck 9. Hull integrity at 78%. Continue the attack, Chen ordered. Her voice never rose. Target the battleship at Grid 77 Alpha. Captain, we are taking heavy damage. I know our damage status, Commander. Fire. The Consequence closed to point-blank range by Void combat standards. Only 2,000 kilometers from the Kavalish battleship. At this distance, even damaged railguns could not miss. The battleship shuddered under the impact of solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. Its armor held for 3 shots. The 4th punched through to its reactor. The battleship exploded in a flash of light bright enough to be seen from the colony below. Kraveth's hands gripped his command chair. What are they? What kind of species fights like this? Thalos checked incoming data streams. Marshal, our combat AI predicts the human ship will be destroyed in approximately 4 minutes if current damage rates continue. Good. Focus all. New contacts, the sensor operator screamed. Multiple faster-than-light signatures at the system's edge. 50, 60, 70 contacts and rising. The main display updated. New icons appeared, flooding into the system in a coordinated fleet deployment. At their center, one massive contact. The ship's identification came through. TRNS Indomitable, Dreadnought class. Admiral Marcus Okonkwo's face appeared on every Kavalish ship's communication screen simultaneously. His dark skin and gray beard gave him a grandfatherly appearance. His eyes held no warmth. You were warned. You were given time to leave. You chose violence against a human colony. That choice has consequences. Kraveth stared at the display showing the human fleet's approach vector. All those ships, all those weapons. He had just enough time to realize that Scout Commander Reith had been right about everything. Then the human fleet opened fire, and the real battle began. The human fleet moved with precision that seemed impossible for so many vessels. Destroyers broke into hunter groups of 3, each group selecting a Kavalish target. Frigates formed defensive screens around larger ships. At the center, the Indomitable advanced like a predator, its massive bulk somehow graceful. Admiral Okonkwo stood on his bridge, watching tactical displays with practiced eyes. Task Force 7, engage their left flank. Task Force 9, cut off their retreat vector. All ships, weapons free. War Marshal Kraveth tried to regain control of his panic. All vessels, form defensive pattern Delta 3, concentrate fire on their largest ship. But human tactics did not allow for organized responses. The destroyer group struck first, hitting Kavala's ships from 3 directions simultaneously. The aliens tried to turn to meet the attacks, but in space, turning was slow. By the time they faced one threat, another was already firing into their exposed flanks. Ship 17 destroyed, Thalas reported, her voice tight. Ship 23 reporting critical damage. Ship 41 has lost all weapons. A Kavalish battlecruiser tried to flee, its captain deciding survival meant more than honor. 3 human destroyers pursued. The cruiser was faster in straight-line speed, but the human ships could turn faster, accelerate harder. They harried it like wolves chasing prey, taking turns striking its engines until it could no longer run. Then they killed it efficiently. Sub-Commander Vex commanded one of the hegemony's finest cruisers. He tried to use his ship's superior tonnage against a human destroyer that harassed his flank. He turned into the attack, weapons blazing. The human ship did not retreat. Instead, it closed distance. "What is it doing?" Vex's gunner asked. "It is charging us directly." The destroyer took hits that tore chunks from its hull. It kept coming. At 200 kilometers, both ships fired everything they had. The destroyer's reactor containment failed, but not before its final railgun salvo punched through Vex's ship at close range. Both vessels became expanding debris clouds. On the Indomitable, Admiral Okonkwo watched the exchange without expression. Note destroyer vigilant as combat loss. All hands. Confirmed kill on Kavalish cruiser. Adjust Task Force 3's formation to compensate. Captain Chen's voice came through on a priority channel. "Admiral, consequence is combat ineffective. Reactor output at 40%. Main guns offline. Requesting permission to withdraw." "Negative, Captain. Continue engagement with secondary weapons until ordered otherwise." "Sir, we have 40% casualties. The ship will fight until it cannot fight. Those colonists need to see we do not abandon them. Every minute you hold draws enemy fire from the rest of the fleet. Can you give me 10 more minutes?" There was a pause. Then Chen's voice came back, steady. "Affirmative, Admiral. Consequence will hold for 10 minutes." The damaged human cruiser turned back toward the Kavalish fleet, trailing atmosphere from hull breaches. Its remaining weapons continued to fire with methodical accuracy. The Kavalish could not understand this. Any sane crew would retreat, save themselves. But the humans just kept fighting. Kravith watched his fleet die piece by piece. The humans did not just fight better. They fought like machines, but with the adaptability of living beings. Every time he tried a new tactic, they countered it before it fully developed. It was as if they could read his mind. "How are they doing this?" he shouted. "How do they know our moves before we make them?" Commander Thalas had been studying the human formations. "Marshal, I think they have fought this battle before. Not this exact battle, but this type. Their responses are too perfect. They have trained for fleet combat against superior numbers." She was right. Humanity had spent 10,000 years fighting itself. Every battle tactic, every strategic principle, every dirty trick had been tried, countered, and refined. The Terran Navy did not invent space warfare. They just applied lessons learned in blood across centuries of conflict. A human frigate took concentrated fire from 5 Kavalish ships. Its shields collapsed. Its armor boiled away. The crew had 15 seconds to evacuate. They did not. Instead, they aimed their dying ship at a Kavalish battleship and fired their engines. The frigate hit at 12 kilometers per second. Both ships ceased to exist. Ramming. Kravith could not believe it. "They are ramming us with their own ships. Marshal, we have lost 60% of our fleet." Thalas's voice was hollow. "We must withdraw." "We still outnumber them. For how much longer? We have lost 72 ships. They have lost 15. At this rate, We will have 0 ships in 30 minutes. They will still have 40. Mathematics did not lie. Kraveth could not accept it, but the numbers were absolute. All ships, retreat vector gamma, maximum acceleration. We withdraw. The Kavalish fleet turned to run. The human destroyers pursued like sharks smelling blood. They did not let the aliens escape cleanly. Every ship too damaged to keep up with the retreat was destroyed. Every ship that stumbled was killed. Admiral Okonkwo could have annihilated them completely. His fleet could have chased them down, killed every last vessel. But he let 17 ships escape, including Kraveth's flagship. He let them go deliberately. "Sir, they are fleeing," his tactical officer reported. "Should we pursue?" "No. Let them run. Let them go home. Let them tell everyone what happened here." The officer understood. A defeated enemy that was completely destroyed could not spread fear. But an enemy that escaped could tell stories, could share combat data, could show others what happened when you attacked humanity. The battle ended. The Kavalish survivors jumped to faster-than-light speed, running for their lives. Behind them, the orbital space around Proxima Centauri was filled with debris. 72 Kavalish ships destroyed, 12 human ships destroyed, 8 more damaged beyond immediate repair. On the consequence, Captain Chen finally allowed herself to sit. Her ship was barely holding together. 73 of her crew were dead. The ship would need 6 months of repair. But the colony was safe. Governor Martinez's voice came through. "Captain Chen, the colony owes you a debt we can never repay." Chen looked at the casualty list scrolling across her screen. "Governor, just make sure those people know what it cost. Make sure they remember." Admiral Okonkwo began organizing rescue operations for damaged ships and recovery of casualties. But part of his mind was already planning the next phase. The Kavalish had attacked human territory. They had killed human civilians with their opening bombardment. This was not over. This was just beginning. The Kavalish would learn that humanity did not forgive, and they did not forget. Scout Commander Reith had tried to warn them. They should have listened. War Marshal Kraveth, flagship, limped into hegemony space 5 days later. Of the 120 ships that had left in glory, 17 returned in shame. The Iron Providence's hull was scorched black from energy weapons. Its proud banner hung tattered in the docking bay. The Hegemony High Command convened emergency session within hours. The council chamber, usually filled with confident voices, now echoed with silence. Every commander present had seen the combat data. No one spoke. Finally, Supreme Commander Volf, eldest of their race, broke the quiet. "Explain how this happened." Kraveth stood, his scales dull with shame. "The humans they were not what we expected." "That much is obvious," Volf said dryly. "You took our finest battle group and returned with less than 15% strength. The defense fleet protecting our colonies is now weakened. Our enemies will see this. Some may attack while we are vulnerable. Supreme Commander, I do not know how to make you understand. The humans fight like nothing we have encountered. Their ships endure damage that should destroy them. Their crews accept casualties that should break morale. And their tactics? Kraveth pulled up holographic replays of the battle. Watch how they move. Every action has a purpose. No wasted effort. No panic. Just methodical destruction. Commander Thalis added her report. I have analyzed their combat doctrine extensively. They practice what they call combined arms warfare. Every ship type supports the others. Destroyers hunt, frigates defend, cruisers assault, capital ships provide overwhelming firepower. It is simple in concept, but devastating in execution. Surely we can adapt, another commander suggested. Learn their patterns, counter their tactics. With what? Kraveth asked bitterly. They have been refining warfare for their entire history. My intelligence staff discovered something. Humans have never known peace, not true peace. For 10,000 years, they have been at war with someone. sometimes each other, but always fighting. War is not something they do, it is something they are. A door opened. Scout Commander Reith entered, escorted by guards. He had been recalled from medical leave. Every eye turned to him. Scout Commander, Supreme Commander Valth said, "You tried to warn Marshal Kraveth. You tried to warn all of us. We did not listen. I formally apologize on behalf of the High Command." Reith dipped his head in acknowledgement, but took no pleasure from the vindication. "Supreme Commander, I respectfully request permission to brief the Council on human capabilities." "Granted. Tell us everything." Reith activated the central display. The humans call their homeworld Earth. It has gravity 1.3 times the galactic standard. This means every human here carries their entire lives under pressure that would exhaust most of us within hours. Their muscles, their bones, their circulatory systems, all evolved to handle extreme stress. He showed medical data. Their blood carries oxygen with remarkable efficiency. When injured, they can function long after other species would collapse. Their bodies produce natural chemicals to suppress pain, allowing them to fight while wounded. And their endurance. Reith shook his head. A human soldier can march for days with minimal rest. A human ship crew can function through combat stress that would incapacitate others. "This explains their physical advantages," Valve said. "What about their technology?" "Most of their technology is not superior to ours," Reith admitted. "But they use it differently. Take their inertial dampening. Most species find the side effects uncomfortable. So they push their ships harder, accelerate faster, pull maneuvers that would kill other crews." He switched to weapons analysis. "Their weapons are simple but effective. Railguns are old technology, so are missiles, but humans have perfected these simple tools through thousands of years of refinement. Their targeting systems, their fire control, their point defense networks, all represent generations of combat experience." Thalas pulled up fleet composition data. "I have been studying their military organization. We estimated they could field perhaps 50 warships based on their industrial capacity. I now believe that estimate was wrong by a factor of 10. They may have 500 combat-capable vessels, possibly more." The council chamber erupted in alarmed voices. 500 ships. The hegemony could field perhaps 2,000, but that was their entire military across all territories. If humans could field 500, how can primitives build so many ships? Someone demanded. "They are not primitives," Reith said quietly. "That was our first mistake. They have only been in space 200 years, but they have been building warships for 5,000 years. They simply moved those construction capabilities to space. Their industrial base is enormous, because war requires industry." Supreme Commander Valth raised a hand for silence. "So we face an enemy with superior combat experience, efficient use of existing technology, and potentially vast fleet strength. What do you recommend?" "Immediate surrender," Reith said bluntly. "Return all contested territories, pay reparations, and pray they accept." "Unacceptable." Kraveth surged to his feet. "We are the hegemony. We do not surrender to anyone." "Then the hegemony will cease to exist," Reith said flatly. "I have seen their ships. I have studied their history. They remember every slight, every attack, every insult, and they do not forgive. If we do not surrender now, they will come for us, and they will not stop until we are erased." The argument was cut short by an alert. "Supreme Commander, priority transmission incoming. Source is Admiral Marcus Okonkwo of the Terran Navy. He is broadcasting on all frequencies, civilian and military." "Put it through." Admiral Okonkwo's face appeared above the council table. He looked like someone's grandfather, kind and weathered. His voice was gentle, which somehow made his words more terrifying. "Leaders of the Kavalish hegemony, I am Admiral Marcus Okonkwo, commanding Terran naval forces in this sector. You attacked a human colony. You killed human civilians in your opening bombardment. 317 people died before our forces could respond. You did this believing we were weak, that we would not fight back. The hologram paused. Now, you know what happens when humans are attacked. But this is not finished. You have 10 days to accept the following terms. 1. Withdraw from all territories within 50 light-years of human space. 2. Pay reparations for damages and deaths caused by your attack. 3. Turn over all officers involved in planning and executing the attack for trial under Terran law. Another pause. If you refuse these terms, we will consider it an act of continued aggression, and we will respond with our full military capacity. We have weapons we did not use at Proxima Centauri, ships we did not deploy, methods we did not employ. You saw us defend, you have not seen us attack. The transmission changed to show footage from the battle, not propaganda, just raw combat data. Kavala's ships dying, burning, breaking apart. This is being broadcast across all frequencies so that every species in this region knows what happened. You came to conquer. You were defeated. 10 days. The transmission ended. The council sat in stunned silence. Finally, a junior commander spoke hesitantly. Surely they are bluffing, about their full capacity, about their weapons. Kreveth laughed, a broken sound. I thought the same thing before I attacked. They are not bluffing. If anything, they are understating. I think, he looked at Reith, I think they want us to refuse. I think they want an excuse to show the galaxy what they can really do. Supreme Commander Valth looked old suddenly, his scales pale. We conquered 17 species to build our hegemony. We thought ourselves apex predators. But we never encountered a species that evolved as predators and stayed predators even after achieving civilization. The humans are not prey pretending to be dangerous. They are predators pretending to be civilized. What do we do? Someone asked. Valth looked around the table at his commanders. At Kraveth, who had led the finest fleet to disaster. At Phallus, who now understood the enemy too well. At Reith, who had tried to save them all. We accept every term, immediately, and we pray it is enough. 3 days later, the Kavalash hegemony's formal surrender reached human space. Every term accepted without negotiation. Territory withdrawn. Reparations calculated and agreed to. The officers involved in planning the attack would be handed over to human jurisdiction within the month. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light could travel. Faster than light communication meant every spacefaring species heard within hours. The Kavalash hegemony, conquerors of 17 species, had surrendered completely to humanity after a single battle. On the repair station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Captain Sarah Chen walked slowly through the corridor leading to the memorial wall. Her ship, the Consequence, was in dry dock. It would take 6 months to repair, maybe longer. The ship had fought beyond its limits and nearly died doing it. The memorial wall was new, installed just yesterday. 73 names were engraved on black stone. 73 crew members who would never go home. Chen ran her fingers across the letters, whispering each name. Captain. Governor Martinez approached carefully. I hope I'm not intruding. Governor. Chen's voice was hoarse. She had not cried. Could not let herself cry yet. The colony is secure? Because of you and your crew, the defense platforms are back online. Fleet Command has assigned a permanent patrol to the system. We are safe. Martinez paused. Was it worth it, losing so many? Chen was quiet for a long moment. I remember the initial casualty reports from the Kavalash bombardment. 317 colonists dead before we even arrived. Families, children. They died because the Kavalash thought humans were weak. She turned to face Martinez. So yes, it was worth it, because now no one will think we are weak. And maybe that saves lives next time. Halfway across known space, Scout Commander Reef sat in a small office on a station near the border of what used to be Kavalish territory. Representatives from 6 smaller species sat across from him. They were species that lived near human space, and they were worried. "Scout Commander," one of them began, "we have seen the humans' military capability. We wish to understand how to avoid provoking them." Reith considered his words carefully. "The humans have a saying, 'Do not mistake kindness for weakness.' They will trade fairly, negotiate honestly, and honor agreements. But if you threaten them, if you attack their people, they will not stop until you are no longer a threat. How do we trade with them safely? Be honest. Humans value honesty above almost everything. Do not try to cheat them. Do not threaten them. And most importantly, do not ever attack their civilians." The hegemony killed 317 colonists. For that, the humans took 100 ships, and would have taken more if we had not surrendered. One of the representatives, a cautious trader from a species Reith did not recognize, leaned forward. "But they are predators. How can we trust them?" "Because they choose to be civilized," Reith said. "That is what makes them more dangerous, not less. They could conquer if they wished. They have the capability. But they choose trade instead. They choose diplomacy. They choose peace. But if you force them to choose war—" He gestured to the display showing the Proxima Centauri battle. "This is what war with humans looks like." On Earth, in the headquarters of Terran Fleet Command, Admiral Okonkwo met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The discussion was classified, the room shielded from all surveillance. "The Kavalish surrendered faster than we expected," Admiral Chen Lu noted. She was no relation to Captain Chen, though she had sent a personal commendation. "Their compliance with terms has been total." "They are terrified," Okonkwo said simply. "They thought they knew war. They discovered they knew nothing. Now they are desperate to avoid provoking us further." Fleet Admiral Hassan, the senior officer present, pulled up strategic assessments. "Other species are watching. Some are considering alliance offers. Others are quietly increasing their military budgets. We have made a strong impression." "Too strong?" Okonkwo asked. "Perhaps," Hassan considered. "We need to be careful. If we are seen as conquerors, we will face coalitions. But if we are seen as reasonable but dangerous, we gain respect and room to operate." Recommendations? Accept the Kavalish surrender gracefully. Make it clear we do not seek territory, only safety for our people. Increase diplomatic outreach. Show that we prefer trade to war. Hassan paused. "But maintain our fleet at full readiness. Let everyone know that we can defend ourselves if necessary." Okonkwo nodded. "The stick and the carrot." "Speak softly and carry a big stick," Hassan quoted. "It served us well on Earth. It will serve us well in space." 6 months later, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her new command. The TRNS Retribution was a heavy cruiser, newer and larger than the Consequence. The ship gleamed with fresh construction. Its weapons were state-of-the-art. Its crew was hand-picked. "Captain, all stations report ready for departure," her new first officer reported. Chen looked at the main display showing Earth hanging in space. 6 months of repair, debriefing, and rest. 6 months of nightmares about crew members she had sent to die. 6 months of wondering if she had made the right choices. But the colonists at Proxima Centauri were alive. The Kavalish had learned their lesson. And humanity had established itself as a power to be respected in the galaxy. The price had been high, but prices always were. "Take us out, Helm. Standard departure pattern. Destination Proxima Centauri. We are going home to patrol." The Retribution slipped away from Earth, one of hundreds of ships protecting human space. Not an invasion fleet, not conquerors, just defenders, making sure that what happened at Proxima Centauri never happened again. In a merchant ship, crossing what used to be Kavalish territory, Captain Velis studied his navigation charts. His first officer pointed to a shortcut through a yellow star system labeled Sol Terran Home System. "Captain, we could save 2 weeks through that route." Velis looked at the yellow marker. He remembered the footage of human ships tearing through a fleet. He remembered Scout Commander Reith's warnings, now circulated across the entire galactic communication network. He remembered Admiral Okonkwo's calm voice, explaining the consequences of attacking humanity. "Plot the long route," Velis said. "But Captain—" "Plot the long route," Velis repeated firmly. "Some shortcuts are not worth taking. Some neighbors are better as friends than enemies, and some warnings should never be ignored." The ship turned away from human space, taking the safer, longer path. As it jumped to faster-than-light speed, Velis looked back at the yellow star one more time. Somewhere in that system lived beings who had spent 10,000 years learning to fight, who had turned warfare into an art form, who built ships that could take impossible punishment and keep fighting, who trained crews to face death without flinching. But those same beings had also chosen peace. They had chosen trade over conquest. They had shown mercy to defeated enemies who might have been destroyed. That made them more dangerous, not less. Because it meant they had the strength to destroy and the wisdom to restrain themselves. They did not start fights, but they would finish them. In the cold mathematics of interstellar politics, the Kavalesh had learned an expensive lesson. Humanity had always known it. Peace came not from being harmless, but from being dangerous and choosing restraint. The scouts had tried to tell them,